Oh my goodness. It has been so long since I have filmed a plant video. So long, and I've missed it so much. Welcome to another spring plant care. In this video, you're gonna see some plants that I've already shown on this channel. I'm excited for you guys to see how they have changed since the last time I've made this video. We're gonna be doing some repotting. We're gonna be doing some feeding, neem oil treatments. I have a lot of plants that I propagated that need to be put in pots, period. Yeah, I propagated them in the winter and they have all thrived. So let's get started. I'm so excited. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm gonna be using this Miracle-Gro moisture control potting mix. It's very versatile and it's just usually what I prefer to use. I'm obviously also gonna be using this Miracle-Gro shake and feed and then just some neem oil that I mixed up. It's just water, neem oil, and a little bit of dish soap. So I wanted to start with one of my favorite plants that has thrived and thrived and thrived since I have owned it. My aloe vera. I'm going to be cleaning this plant with some neem oil. And I'm just going to wipe her down, get all the dirt off. And then what I normally do when I'm done wiping down on all the leaves and all my plants is I just wash this little microfiber cloth in the sink. All right, baby girl is all nice and cleaned. And then what I normally do is I'll take my moisture meter and I will kind of loosen up the soil. Take my feed, and I don't like to actually like pour it out the way that it wants you to. I like to take the cover off because it's less messy. And then I just take some and I sprinkle it in there. And then I take my moisture meter again and then I just kind of like work it down into the soil. Just gonna give her a nice good little drink. This baby is now done. Aloe is such a low maintenance plant. Next up is my ponytail palm. Now this was the very first plant that I've ever gotten in my entire life. As you can see, it has some new growth up here going on. In my last video, if you remember, this plant was infested with bugs. They were crawling all over and all I did was I gave it a really good neem oil treatment. Ever since that neem oil treatment, I just gave it the one, nothing. So that one treatment must have been enough to just kill off all the bugs, or maybe its infestation wasn't that bad. One thing about this particular type of plant is they do like to get a little bit yellow at the tips. It's kind of like something that this plant is known for. What's important to me is I like to look at the new growth to really see how a plant is doing. So what I'm gonna do is I do see a couple leaves that are completely brown that have no green on them, kind of underneath everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut those particular ones off just for aesthetic reasons. The next thing on my list for this plant is I can't really wipe down its leaves because it just has so many of them and they're so small. But what I do notice is the soil level is getting pretty low. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be topping this off with some fresh soil. But before I do that, I am going to put some feed in there. And I am excited to see how much these plants are going to flourish now that I'm feeding them, because obviously I haven't fed them all winter. I'm going to be adding a nice little layer. I will give it a good neem oil spray because last time I did that, this plant really loved it. And then that plant is good to go. The next one is this beautiful plant that I have. I should probably figure out how many actual plants are in here, because if I can get more than one plant out of this, why not? I have this beautiful planter. Nice little hanging one. I absolutely love it, and I think this would do perfect in it. The only thing is obviously there's already a plant in it that unfortunately, for whatever reason, did not make it. This one luckily has spent its whole life in pure water and is doing relatively okay, as you can see. So I think this one would be an okay one to put in this container that doesn't have any drainage. And I did want to do a shout out that a majority of these plants that I have propagated are actually not from me. A majority of these plants I got from one of my good friends, where I get a lot of my plants from as well. It's from her. I'm just gonna pull her out, see what happens. Okay, so there's definitely two plants. So I'm gonna do this part in this pot, just because this part for this specific plant has a lot less roots. So I feel like it would do better in this smaller pot for that reason. And this plant its roots are actually pretty high up. So I'm gonna have to fill this all the way up with soil just to get those covered. Spraying with some neem oil. Since the roots on this plant are used to a very wet environment, I'm going to for sure water it. Now I want you guys to see how much algae is on the roots of the next plant. The roots for this one is much bigger, so I'm putting it in a bigger pot. Okay. This one I'm going to spray with some neem oil as well, but I'm not going to wipe down the leaves because they're so teeny tiny. But we'll give it a good little spray. I want to transition it to obviously living a normal life, but first I gotta transition it properly. I don't want to just put it from a wet environment to a dry soil. Very dry, which is what it needs. And the coolest part about getting this plant from my friend is I also got this really cool pot. So I'm squirting the food in. Nothing new, just what I've been doing. And then I did want to show you the specific soil that it's in. I really like the soil that it's in. I think my friend did a good job at putting the right soil, this plant in the right type of soil, but I wanted to kind of show you what was in it so you could kind of see a lot of bark in it and then also a lot of perlite in it. So I felt like that was a very good mixture, and then obviously it's in the right type of pot for a succulent. I don't usually give my succulents any neem oil, but I will give her some water. This little bad boy is done. This next one is actually my newest plant. Now this one's still in its nursery pot. I'm going to keep it in its nursery pot since I just got the plant, but I'm going to just place it in an actual pot, you know, so that it looks fancier. And then I'm also going to put some feed in there. First, I want to see if it needs to be watered. So I'm going to loosen the soil a little bit. Since I just got it, I'm not really sure when it was actually fed. Like the plants that I have that are mine, that I've had for years, like I know when they were last fed and watered and all that stuff. This one, obviously, I don't really know. Just to be safe, I'm going to put a little bit of food in it. And if you don't know, a moisture meter obviously checks how moist the soil is. I don't know if I mentioned that. All right, this one I'm going to give a little bit of water, and then I'm going to be putting it into a different container just for aesthetic reasons. This is the only pot that I have that I think it might fit in. Let's see. Oh yeah. It's just going to be like down in there. I wonder if I should put something under it. Oh, so it's not like super deep in there, but let's see what happens. Yeah, I don't really like how deep that is in there. I'm gonna have to put something under it. It's a little bit better, I think. Next up is these beautiful string of pearls. This one I got a couple weeks ago and I have not watered it since I've gotten it. I can't really add any fertilizer to it because of how, you know, clumped up everything is. I might have to actually get a liquid feed just for this specific plant. This is my first string of pearls, and it's definitely a little bit harder to water. Now I've come across like a little bit of a predicament. This is like the smallest hanging one that I have. All my other hanging planters are like really big. So this is the smallest one I have, and this is how it fits. Yeah, it's still even really dry even though I just watered it. And I am nervous about putting it in here because this has no drainage at all. And this plant definitely needs drainage. Hopefully I don't need to add any more soil. I can just put it in here nice and easy. And then I just have to be extra careful as far as taking care of this one goes, knowing that there's no drainage in here. So that's just something I'll have to keep in mind. I'll probably water it again just because as I was taking it out, I was feeling that it was still very dry. I love this. This is adorable. This is what she looks like now. This next plant on my list prefers to have moist soil, but this plant, I believe, was a coffee tree and it was thriving, and then one day literally it just died. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. This looks like a good step up for this plant. Are you okay back there? Squeeze in the pot. Just trying to get her nice and loose. You good back there? I like to use my moisture meter to gently loosen the roots, especially if they're like outgrowing their pots and they're sticking to the sides. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, it is very wobbly. I'm gonna have to pack this one down pretty good. Alright. Let's see. And then since I know that this loves to have moist soil, I'm gonna water it. I'm gonna do neem oil treatment so I can clean the leaves. I'm not gonna give it any feed because I did put a good amount of new soil in there. And I do have a mister. I do like to mist certain plants down who prefer more humidity. But since I'm giving all these a neem oil treatment, that's why I'm not misting any of them down. And I guess if anyone is wondering, as far as the neem oil goes, I do... Goodness, I don't want to get it wrong. I think I do like 4 cups of water, half a teaspoon of dish soap, and 1.5 teaspoons of neem oil. Next up, I have this beautiful snake plant. I don't know what it is, but I always struggle with snake plants. They always die on me. I've had multiples and none of them have ever survived. I don't know what it is. They're supposed to be like one of the easiest plants to take care of. I don't know what to tell you. It is now finally time for me to put this into an actual pot. So I'm just going to squeeze the pot like so. And every time I take a plant out of a nursery pot, I keep the nursery pots. So I usually fill it up about halfway. And I just kind of like to maybe loosen them just a teeny tiny bit, not too much. Just a little bit, just because they're so we're so packed in there. And then shove it in here. Boom. I'm just so excited to get all these plants set up in their homes so that I can figure out how much room I actually have for more plants so that I can go and get more plants. It's kind of cool now because now that I'm more of intermediate instead of beginner, I kind of know when I buy plants, I know what ones I'm going to be able to take care of and what ones I'm going to not be able to take care of. There's just certain plants that I haven't quite figured out exactly yet. So I'm just kind of, I don't know. It just makes it easier for when I buy plants, knowing that they're going to live and that I know that I'm going to be able to take care of them. And I'm not just guessing when I'm at the plant store anymore like I used to when I was a beginner. Now I'm oh, I know I'm going to be able to take care of this. It just makes it more exciting knowing that the plants that I'm buying now that I'm more experienced are going to be with me for years instead of buying ones, not knowing how to take care of them, and then they die within a couple of weeks. Every spring I like to get maybe 3 or 4 new plants, not too many, but just maybe 3 or 4. But first I like to get these ones set up in my house first so that I kind of know how much space I got and how big of plants I can get and so on and so forth. Next up, I have this spider plant. Now, spider plants are some of my favorite plants just because how easy they are to take care of, and they usually thrive pretty well. And I feel like they do really well in the environment that my house offers. This one's been in this pot for a while. So this one probably just needs some food. And I kind of want to see if I can get the plant in the middle. You see how it's kind of off to the side like that. I don't really feel like I'm gonna be able to. It's in there. It's in there. So I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to reposition it. I'm trying, but it feels like the roots might be attached to the side of the pot. I mean, maybe I can get it to move over a little bit, but not as much as I was hoping, unfortunately. This plant is going to actually need a soil top off. I'm seeing some roots exposed at the top of the plant. I'm seeing some roots exposed. It's not tilted as much, so I'm happy about that, but I was hoping that I could have moved it. Didn't really do too much with this bad boy. To try to switch things up a little bit, I'm going to another cutting that I have. This plant is kind of interesting because it seems like it's a little bit of a taller plant. I actually don't know what this is. Yes, it is definitely just one plant. I only have so many tall vases. This one's kind of, as you can see, a little bit more taller. It kind of feels like a big step up from what it was in, unfortunately, but it's the only tall one that I really have. Over time, if this one seems like it's bending too much, I might put something in it to prop it up so that it's not bending as much. I'm just not quite sure how this plant grows, so I'm gonna wait to kind of see how it grows before I decide if I'm gonna prop this one up or not. This one is one of my favorites. Now, it is in this, as you can see, kind of smaller pot, and I'm not entirely sure if I should repot it. I mean, it's getting to the point where it looks like I might need to, but I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little skeptical about it. Realistically, it probably needs to be repotted soon, but I think I'm just gonna leave it. I will be giving it some food. It has been in this soil for a very, very long time. This one has a substantial amount of dog hair. This one actually sits right next to one of my vents, and I know plants aren't supposed to have a lot of change of temperature or drafts or anything like that, but this one's been thriving by the vent, and so that's why it has so much dog hair in it. I'm not going to put too much soil because this soil is not obviously meant for succulents, so I'm just going to do a very light layer just to kind of, so I don't have to look at all that dog hair. This one likes to be watered a lot, and so I would imagine that it needs to be watered. I actually have this spot in my kitchen for plants that I seem to struggle with. For whatever reason, the spot in my kitchen where I put them with plants that I seem to have a problem with seem to do really well in that spot, and that's kind of how I gotten some of these plants that I normally kill to grow and to stay healthy. Literally, they sit in my window. Number one, they're in a window, which, you know, there's enough draft from that as it is. And then they're also right by the back door, which I open very frequently. They get drafts from that as well. And then it's also right next to a vent where the heat comes on and off throughout the day. But for whatever reason, all the things that you're not supposed to do with plants is kind of what I started doing with the plants that I couldn't get to stay alive, because I was doing all the right things and they weren't surviving. So I was like, I'm gonna do all the wrong things. Let's see what happens. And for whatever reason, it's working. I wouldn't take that as any sort of advice. That's just for whatever reason been working for me. I think that's all I really need to do for this plant. The leaves were very dusty, so that in itself is an upgrade. I love this red leaf that this one just came in, this red one. All the others are like green, and then randomly it sprouted this red one. I wanted to show you guys a nice close-up of that beautiful red leaf. You can tell this one was by the vent because of how dirty it is. It definitely does look like it needs to be repotted. All right, so I'm a little nervous about this. I believe I named him Legolas. Now, if you remember him from a year ago when I filmed this video, he was everywhere, beautiful. I do not know what happened. I didn't change anything with him. He's on his last leg, and realistically, I don't think I should repot him. But this plant has given me so much headache. This one needs a bigger pot. And yes, this is a substantial upgrade. Keep in mind, this bottom part down here, like this inch down here, isn't actually pot. That's just what it drains into. Technically, it's only this much bigger. And this is the only like pot that I could find that I could put this in. This is gonna be the one that's gonna bite the bullet, unfortunately. I really don't think it's gonna survive anyways, because just to keep this one little leaf alive, you have no idea what I've gone through. I'm just over it. If everything works out, I can put this one in there and this one in here and just swap them. If it lives, it lives. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, this one I'm kind of nervous about. I haven't watered it in a while, so I'm hoping that it will just come out. I'm not really. This is like the type of container, the way that it is like bumpy like this. It's kind of hard to get any plants out of this, which is why I've also waited so long to repot this as well for that reasoning. I'm gonna see if it will hopefully just come out. It's not moving. It's not moving. Like when I see the pots in the store, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cute, I need it. And then I buy it. And then when it actually comes to like how functional it is, they're usually not very functional. It's like the cute pots are never functional. Oh, okay, okay. It's coming out. Definitely needs to be repotted. That is good. I'm going to try to wipe down its leaves really good. I should probably move this one out of the way. Do that one next. This one I should probably give a good watering too. Whoop. Just wipe down the leaves, get all the dog hair off. One of these leaves has little bite marks on it from who knows what. Just one of the leaves, none of the others. All right, let's see how this one takes to this little pot. Give her a little spritz of this. Be very easy. Boom, done. I have another unknown plant where I don't know what it is. I want to see how many plants are actually in here. It's hard to tell. I want to say at least 2, possibly. There's like goop. Ugh. I think it might be 1, 2. I can't tell. I think it's just 1. Oh, no, it's 2. 3. I feel like these might be okay. I think this plant right here doesn't have any roots. I've had these plants for maybe about 4 months. This one has no roots and it's been alive for 4 months. I'm still gonna pot it. See what happens, I guess. And I'm just gonna put all of these in their own little one. This one's got like a lot of roots. I almost feel like I need to take some soil out. Okay. It's just gonna be tall. It almost seems like this plant is different than these two. Now, all 3 of these are going to get watered since they're used to being in a really wet pot. So I'm gonna water them good. Here is the one without roots. And then here's this little baby one. Can you see me? This is one of my favorite plants because it makes me feel like I'm in a rainforest. This plant just thrives and thrives and thrives. And I remember in the video that I made a year ago, I complained about how it never ever grew. And I had it for a very long time and it never grew. And now, for whatever reason, it's just sprouting. It even has sprouted whole new entire plants. I don't really have any pots that are bigger than this. And it's been in this pot for a very long time. We're talking years. Eventually, I think this one should be repotted. But as of now, it is thriving. I'm going to mix this into the soil. And I'm actually going to add a little layer of fresh soil just because over the years, since it's been here so long, over the years, the soil has really dramatically like gone down the level of the soil. And the soil that it's been in is this Miracle-Gro. And give it just a little drink, not too much. Because I did put in some new soil that is a little bit wet. Give it a little drink. This one I do mist almost every single day. But this time I'm just gonna do some good neem oil. Beautiful. Next up is another spider plant. Okay. This one has also been seen in previous videos. If you remember my last video, this plant was very small. It was a baby. Now it is very big. I was able to track down a bigger pot. It's not like that much bigger. It is wider. This one likes to be watered very frequently. I'm gonna check it before I repot it. I'm gonna attempt to cut this off if I can. It's just a, I don't know if I can cut it. Why did I tighten it so much? Come on, baby. There we go. Another reason why it needs to be repotted is so I can try to get it to be more upright. Hopefully I can just pull it out. I feel like it's probably gonna have a lot of roots. Oh, nope, it's coming out. I'm gonna try to do it over this to try to catch some of the soil. Okay. It was incredibly root bound. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to do this while also supporting it, the plant. I'm gonna try to dramatically push this down, see if it'll hold itself up. I don't think it will. Okay, it's not gonna hold itself up, so I'm gonna have to attempt to hold this and put the soil in? I don't think I'll be able to. There's not very much soil left. That's the difficult part. Oh wait. Okay, it's not that bad by itself. I got 2 sticks here. I was enjoying using them, but it looks like I'm gonna need them to make this plant upright. I'm almost thinking I should do one on each side. I don't know. Maybe one will be fine. Got a zip tie. I'm just going to use that to help kind of secure this plant to this stick. I don't try to do it too tight. All right, this one's gonna get a nice good dose of neem oil. And I will try to wipe down the leaves if I can. I mean, I'm a little nervous about wiping them down and then having the plant tilt. You know, I feel like I finally got it in a good position, but the leaves do have quite a bit of dog hair on them. I'm glad that my dog has finally outgrown the stage of, like, back when I used to film plant videos, my dog would always try to eat all the soil on the ground. And so, like, majority of my videos, I had to, like, continuously pause to get her to stop eating it and to let her know that that's not okay. I watered it, I cleaned the leaves, I repotted it. I think that's all I needed to do for this specific plant. I'm very excited to finally be able to repot these. So once again, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out how many actual plants that there are in here. And I'm actually shocked that these have survived for like 6 months in here. It looks like it is just one plant. I feel like this is probably a pretty good size. I am getting very low on soil, but luckily I have more. Pour it all in. Boom. Oh, that is beautiful. I got a fresh new bag of soil. Same exact stuff. Oh yeah, this is so cute. I love it. I'm excited to put this somewhere. Very cute. Okay. And these leaves I will wipe down since they're so big. I don't really care for how fragile they are, but they are pretty decent sized, so it should be easy enough. I absolutely love this pot, and I love how much it complements the beautiful red. I believe this is a pothos. It might be a philodendron cobra, but regardless, they're relatively similar. This one was in one of my previous videos, and I remember complaining that it only had 2 leaves for years. It only had 2 leaves and it would not grow. And I don't know what happened, but one day it just started growing. Not only does it need to be repotted, but it needs to finally be hung somewhere so that it can vine and trail and do what it needs to do instead of just, you know, sitting on a table like this. I do have a couple of these, which I have never opened. So I wanted to see if maybe one of them would suffice for what I have going on in my head. I only have one planter left that is a hanging planter, and that specific one is very big. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to put that one in it. Let's see what this looks like. This looks like maybe where oh gosh, this is confusing. I think it hangs like this, and then the plant itself goes in here, I want to say. But why is there 2 of them? Oh, it must be meant for 2. Okay, so it's meant for one plant to go on the top and one plant to go on the bottom. Okay, which I guess could work out because I do have 2 of these plants. But I would prefer this one to be in its own. I think this one is its own. Yeah, this one looks like it's just one. I just need to find like a medium-sized pot and I'll put it in that one. Woo! This new soil will have some food in it to really help this plant grow. Try to get this bad boy out of here. Seems like it's gonna be relatively easy. Just dumping some of it out so I can like kind of get a better visual of what I'm dealing with. Okay. That's what the roots look like. So I'm just placing them in here. I'm gonna use a little bit of the old soil as well. I'm gonna do a little bit more of the old soil. Yeah, that's looking much better already. New pot, nice and clean. Probably put this one in the kitchen where it gets some nice, good sun. Look at that, nice clean leaves. Next up, I have so many plants, guys, and this video could go on for hours, but I'm like, I don't really think I'm going to probably show every single plant in this video just because I have so many. Same idea and everything, it just needs to be in a little bit of a bigger pot. I think I'm just gonna make it easy and just put it in this hanging pot that I have. It's substantially bigger, and I just hope that it will thrive in here even though this container is so much bigger. The roots are appearing to be trying not to break them. Placing them in here. This is how the plant looks now, much bigger pot. This is next up on my list. Now, I believe after this one, I only have one plant left that I'm going to do in this video, and then I think the rest I'm going to do off camera, just so that this video isn't too insanely long. This particular plant doesn't need much done to it. Some of the leaves are starting to brown. That is only because as of now, I've had it in a spot in my house where there is no sun, just temporarily for like the past week. So that's why some of these are starting to brown a little bit. But after this video, I'm going to be putting it in a spot with much more light. So what I'm going to do, since there's obviously new growth, I'm going to add some food to help with that new growth. I'm loosening the soil and just adding some food to it. And if anyone's wondering where I get all my pots from, my planters from, why is there a button in here? You know what, I'm just gonna leave it in there. I get my pots and planters from either local nurseries. They're usually more expensive at local nurseries, but if I want to get like a fancy one, that is where I will go. Otherwise, I normally just get mine from like Home Depot, yard sales. I get a lot of them from yard sales or garage sales, just like hardware stores and stuff in my area. A couple of them I've gotten from friends who had like pots they didn't want to use anymore, or they just didn't need them anymore. The leaves are definitely a crispy feeling, so definitely needs some sun. This is the last plant I'm going to tackle today. This one luckily is in a glass case, so I can look to see if it is root bound, and it is not root bound, so that is good. So all that I'm gonna do with this one is kind of trim. There's a couple dead spots, so I'm gonna cut off those little dead areas, and then this one I can tell definitely drastically needs food, and it needs to be topped off on soil because the soil, for whatever reason, is getting very low. This leaf down here is getting pretty crispy, but I think it might be able to be salvaged. This one, as you can tell, definitely needs some soil because it's starting to... I mean, it's still a tiny bit wobbly, but it's much better than it was. Nice little spritz. Wipe this bad boy down and we will be done. This is where I put all of my plants. I'm going to see how they do. If it seems like they are not doing as well as I'm hoping, if it doesn't seem like they are thriving or they are starting to struggle, I will of course move them in different areas. I like to keep as many plants as I can in my office because my office is of course where I spend a majority of my time. It really helps to just liven the place up. Now, these are where I put the hanging plants. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video very much, and I will see you on the next plant video, guys.